Good evening, good morrow, and good morning, all you ridiculously smexy, fraternally level brethren and curious candidates out there. It's your boy Mikhail Moonstrong. We're back in the den of iniquity, that smoky lounge. But what's that? We have a new visitor, a new member, a deliciously metallic brother this time, who was not divested. Welcome, Metal Drew. How you doing, boy?
I am doing well, sir. I feel like I have to talk to you in a Shatner type voice to go along with your energy.
You know, I think you've taken a true dab of the hippie queen amnesia. You come into this space, and if you don't take on a little bit of some ridiculous character, then I don't think we're in the right space.
You've seen my TikToks.
Oh, dude, they're the best. They're the best. In fact, you were so as a Freemason, as a content creator, you are one of my favorites out there because of your freeform approach. But in general, your humor. I love the you're a dark motherfucker. I'm gonna be real. Like,
oh, you have no idea.
So I'm incredibly happy to have you here in the studio, have you here on the podcast. Welcome. This series, again, is going to be, for anybody who's unaware, is to interview a master, where we tack down these beautiful bastards and we hear and ask them the lovely questions which brought them to the craft and to the fraternity. So let me start with a big one for you, and that's going to be my favorite. Why are you a Freemason, Brother Rizzatello?
Well, let me first say that you called me a beautiful bastard. I'm not a beautiful bastard. I'm a magnificent bastard, because I'm also part of another group, which that's our terminology for each other. That comes from that term comes from the whiskey tribe, because as anyone who follows me knows, I'm a bit of a whiskey snob. But back to your question, what brought me to the fraternity? To be honest, I actually revealed this in a recent TikTok. I needed new friends. I got to a point in my life where you always have your core group of friends, and they're with you all your life, and you go through ups and downs and ins and outs with them. They're your brothers from another mother. However,
big city families.
However, there gets to be a point where psychologically it's draining to continually see the same faces. And this isn't any type of fault of theirs. It just happens, unfortunately. So back in 2014, 2015, actually, no, earlier than that, I looked up Freemasonry because, as you saw it on TV and the History Channel and all the movies and the books and whatnot, it's this giant fraternity and it's got this shady background, and what do they really do? So I'm like, there's a couple lodges down the road from me. It can't be that secretive. Like if they're really doing
this,
they're
being shady, I think they're doing a bad job of it.
So I emailed the lodge closest to me, which is Freehold, New Jersey. It's about a 15-minute drive from where I live. And the secretary at the time got back to me. I walk in, and I didn't feel at home, to be honest. It was still an old man club. It felt very Elks. Like very much like we're just coming here to have a beer and complain about our wives type mentality. So I left. And then a couple years later, I put a post up on Facebook. Nobody answered it. But then I found out that my manager at my job, I used to work for Safe Light Auto Glass, was a brother. In a lodge much further from Freehold, but still a brother. We got to talking. And then my neighbor, who owns the cigar shop, I found out that he's a brother too, and a magician. I see your face moving around.
Because I'm sitting over here like, okay, one, I hear a brother who owns a cigar shop, and I'm like, okay, this is a good friend. This is a good resource to have. And then I hear magician, and I'm like, this is a really good resource.
So we really got to talking much more than my manager and I did. And he, one of the reasons he joined is he said all of his heroes were Freemasons, including Houdini. So he's like, yeah, go check out my lodge in Freehold again. And at that time, it had changed. It was a new secretary. It was a new atmosphere completely. It was a new worshipful master, a much younger worshipful master who had a more of a progressive stance on things. And it was much more inviting. I will never forget walking in there the second time, and besides getting a handshake and a hi, how are you, the next line was, here, have something to eat. And I never got that the first time.
Which blows me the fuck away, because if there's any one thing Freemasons are associated with, it's like green beans. It's food.
Yeah, pancakes. I am a pancake person.
See, I need to bring breakfast back in our lodge. We're like, we're caught in the deep South country fried cycle at the moment. It ain't bad, but I mean, I need to keep these boys in here. Like, their blood pressure is too damn high. We're going with salads.
Need some more fiber. So that's the because the mentality changed so much, it really sucked me in. At the time, the Worshipful Master, Right Worshipful Dan Xavier, was a very progressive individual in all aspects. He was changing a lot of things. The secretary, who is still our secretary, Adam, and he's become more than a brother in the fraternity. He's an uncle to my daughter. You know, that kind of developed, and that was amazing. All the brethren, really, it just came very naturally, and was very welcoming and open, and I loved every second of it. And I never want to go back.
That difference there, because that's remarkable. That almost tracks with like a Baptist church kind of approach. When you walk in and you got that, you know, that grand. What I mean by that is there are times when you go into a church, right, and you got the pastor, you got the pastor's son, and they always had remarkably different views to the same thing that created an incredibly different energy within the church. Now, this is just an experience coming from the Bible Belt, not saying that it pertains to everybody. And so what do you think really drove this Worshipful Master to create that kind of an environment over the one that he would have been raised in, the one that you kind of similarly experienced when you first knocked on that door? What do you think motivated that change? Because it's hard to change that tradition of kind of
he went out. He came in swinging. He knew what he was doing. Like, he knew he was going to make people mad. He knew he was going to end up, some people were going to walk away. But he, like what we're doing now, like what Brother Blair is trying to accomplish with the Masonic movie, with all of us, with what we're doing on TikTok, what we're doing on any form of social media, is we're trying to, I wouldn't say modernize, but become more approachable. We are not this super secret mystery thing you see on the Simpsons stonecutters. You know, it's a fraternity. We're trying to help someone, a man, become better. And I think I've experienced that. I hope that I have taught that lesson through my short time in the Masons, and the brethren that I've met definitely helped me. So he just came in swinging, and he's like, no, we got to change this. We have to, you know, we just got to update some policies. He started the Facebook group. He started the, you know, the different, the district pages and things like that. He modernized the experience.
Now, did he personally take on, and likewise, so if anybody who's unaware, as we speak about masochists and gluttons for punishment, Brother Rizzatello here, he past master. You just stepped down from the East, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's delve into that. So you are and have been the disgruntled past master who can grumpily mumble.
Harumph.
See, perfect. So you'd think he's there. Being there in that experience, you have a very interesting perspective, because you both, you know, you started at the lodge, kind of coming into it where there was that, not tension, but it was, you know, it was the boys club, but then we're able to come back to it in a renewed way, in such that it motivated you enough to become Worshipful Master of your lodge. As you stepped into that mantle, what was that initial experience like for you?
For Worshipful Master?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Well, as I've described before to many of the other brethren, I came in after COVID lockdown for New Jersey. So the Worshipful Master before me, Worshipful Brother Peter De Lucia, had complete lockdown. No one was allowed in lodge. And he did the best he could through Zoom, emails, exterior meetups, because we were allowed to have like 50 people outside kind of thing. He did the best he could to keep the momentum going and keep Freemasonry alive, at least at our lodge. And then I stepped in after him and had to pick up the pieces, because now I was allowed to have people inside. I was allowed to have meetings and whatnot. And at first it was 10 people, which isn't even enough for the officers, at least because we have 15 officers in New Jersey. And that's just the officers, not even brethren sitting on the sideline. And then eventually the numbers went up, and we got more people coming in. Once we were allowed to have, I'd say, 50 people indoors, then I started with my, all right, let's go. I'm getting my speakers back in. I'm getting, we're going to have our Scotchtoberfest in October. We had a cookout in the middle of the summer. And logistically, because I'm a pencil pusher kind of guy, I like to see results. According to my year, my lodge made, from our 2 investment accounts, we made $25,000. We gave away $9,000 in charity. We raised 9 brothers and still have 5 EAs. We initiated 5 new EAs, and at this moment we still have 2 petitioners in the wings.
That's incredible. That's an active year. You're talking return. I mean, investments alone, moving brethren aside, like pushing, being able to, like, that's awesome.
You know what's weird is, like, at our annual communication at the end of the year, we would read off all this nonsense and do the business. They read all that off. I'm like, I did that. We did that. Like, I helped do that. I still don't believe it. I still don't. So it's weird for me to say, like, no, we grew. Like, we had as bad as it was in the beginning of the year, we had a successful year. We had brothers come back to the lodge. We had, like I said, we raised 9 brethren that are now active members, and some of them are officers now.
Yes.
It was rewarding, especially now that I get to sit outside the door as Tyler and look at the new officers and go, oh, you're going to learn.
Oh, you see, and I love that that's the position you're in, because when I joined the craft, the Tyler was my keeper for all intents and purposes. He was the brother who, he was a lifelong Mason who, when you shook his hand, you felt a friend, you felt family, you felt this kind of, like, I don't know what otherworldly thing you possess from being the bearer of this liminal space. But it's deep. I don't know what it is yet. So that, because one, I mean, how cool is your sword? How cool is that you actually get the cleaver? You get, that's, I mean, it's
you sweet summer child. You have no idea.
Ooh.
So you've obviously heard the term advanced stations.
Yes.
Or jump up night or something along those lines.
Yep.
For those who don't know, that is when an officer in the elected line, junior, senior, warden, will take the place of the worshipful master for one meeting. I got to do an EA degree when I was junior warden. I gave my Tyler a battle axe, a legitimate, 4 foot tall, I can cleave flesh battle axe.
That's fucking stunning.
I am 100. I never was in theater, but I am 100% a theater kid.
You theatrical. I would never get that impression.
The Tyler sword we currently have, we started out with a saber. And the reason I don't want to use it anymore is because the saber we have is from the Civil War. Yes, my lodge has a lot of history. And the saber they were using was from the Civil War. I'm like, I don't want to ruin this thing. This should be placed somewhere and kept and cleaned up if possible. So I brought in one of the, because I was a mall ninja, one of the weapons that I had at home, and I had a 4 foot broadsword. So I'm like, here you go, Mr. Tyler.
Oh, defend.
And now my sword this year is a rapier.
All right. So with the symbology behind the sword extending into deep avenues of both occult, esoteric, and religions throughout time, what does it mean to you to be in that position, symbolically, physically? Obviously, the Tyler is the keeper of Cowans and eavesdroppers, but as you've, held the East, you're now defending that sacred position. What does this look like to you? What does that sword mean to you?
So I didn't plan this, but now you're asking the question, so now it's running in my head. The rapier I brought it's a wall hanger. It's just fancy looking. It's a beautiful French basket style handle. And now that the way you worded that and said that I am now the defender of the lodge, I'm supposed to stop cowards and eavesdroppers. Look at me what I'm doing on TikTok. I've only been on TikTok for about 7 months, maybe. And look at, like, just like the brothers Tyler, and all the rest of us who constantly defend against the conspiratorial nature of some of the people on TikTok, and also help others who come forward with honest questions and want to know more about the fraternity. I think that is the job of the Tyler. You are guarding the West Gate. You are not. You may be guarding against the cowards and eavesdroppers, but the poor man who wants to knock, you are the first hand that reaches forward and shakes that man's hand.
I like that. I like that a lot. Like, that's got some deeply sexual, smexy images when it comes to that righteous sovereign position. The friend of the hand, in Freemasonry, obviously, and in certain spaces, I wouldn't say unfortunately, but we pull a lot of Christian allegory.
Absolutely, a lot of Judeo-Christian.
100%. And I'll be honest, it takes a well-versed and very comfortable spiritual practitioner of any level to be able to step into that hall. And when it comes to the concepts of charity, when it comes to the foundational ideas of friendship, I like that the friend, right, is oftentimes that person who would be seen to be your offender, or not offender, like, the dude with the sword, right? The scariest motherfucker out there. He's the one who sets it aside to reach first, right? That sword becomes more of a cane or a crook to support than it is something that is to hurt, that is to offend.
Here's another little thing you can play with in your mystical, magical mind.
Ooh.
The character I've brought forward on TikTok, Azrael. The leather jacket wearing, top hat having looking individual that I've brought forward. Do you know where that name comes from?
Azrael is the angel of death, I believe, correct?
And what is he supposed to do to the kind-hearted when he meets them?
Embrace them?
He gives them an apple.
Oh, shit.
He gives them an apple and takes them as they willingly go into paradise. And those who are wicked, he rends.
Ooh.
I've had that character since I was 16 years old, and when I found out there was more meaning behind that name, because I just pulled that name out of thin air, when I found that was an actual being in Christian and actually Muslim mysticism, the fact that I chose that name from nowhere was like, all right, something clicked, something happened here.
I got like goosebumps running up my arm. It's like not even like God. So I mean, what I love about that one ties into the non-sectarian view and the immense amount of ancestral energy which comes from the fraternity, the powerful and enormous draw of something, right? This unknowable, this untangible thing. And when you look at this character, so for you said it's been with you since you were 16.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the first time you began that conversation?
To be completely honest with you, I was a goth kid in high school. I was very much into the dark stuff. I was, look at South Park. I was one of those goth kids. Okay. That kid's really goth.
Oh I love it. It.
So at that time, we hung out in graveyards. Honestly, we did. And we decided, we didn't know anything about actual witchcraft or anything like that. We gave ourselves names. And when I was 16, the PlayStation 2 was out, and Soul Reaver was the game I was playing. And if you remember Soul Reaver, the name of the character was Raziel. So I'm like, oh, that's a really cool name, but I don't want to use that because that's this character already. It's already there. So I just flipped some letters around, and that's where I came out with Azrael.
Oh shit. So this wasn't even something that was like, a base influence of like, no, back in the background of music. No, you literally engineered the name and
Yep.
found it to correlate. Holy shit.
And then later in life, not even much later, like still within high school, friends knew that I was that demonology kid. I was into the dark stuff. So my one friend actually got me the encyclopedia, the vampire encyclopedia, and this giant paperback book with all the myths and everything in it from God knows how long ago. And then my mother for Christmas one year got me the Book of Angels, where it talks about Uriel and Raphael and Michael and
that's a really
Israel.
I have a pretty good, I presume I understand, I know the text you're talking about, but like that's a really formative one. It's even suggested by a lot of known occult or spiritual writers because it's so well
Right. And that's where I found out that this was a real name of a real angel that appears in Muslim mysticism and certain Christian mysticism, depending on where you are. And it was one of the four main angels that when God said, I'm going to create man, go get dirt, Raphael, Michael, and Gabriel argued, and Azrael just went and did it. And when he came back, that's why God said, since you gave me the dirt, you are the one who are going to take him home.
Ooh, that I really, really like that.
Hold on 1 second. My computer's going to die. I'm going to flip over my phone.
No worries. I'll hold.
Sorry.
I'm going to do a fun, a brief technical interruption. The
Sorry.
elevator.
I'm leaving from this and I'm jumping on my phone. All right.
Got it. This is the part of the film where you continue unsupervised. Please put your danglings back in their pockets and pick your pockets at another time. We'll be back with you momentarily. I cannot hear you. Boom. You look muted now, but I do see that there's an audio connection in, so I can't hear you. But
now you can.
Now I can. See, like magic. With that, ladies and gentlemen, he has returned.
Yes. I'm sorry for the brief conundrum we had.
That's going to be entertaining as shit. That's going to be a great little clip in. So when we resume resume of the conversation, this identity, this divinity, this unique spiritual character, right? Being. What's really interesting is that in most magical paths, even be them ancient or modern, there's this aspect and part of it where the individual is conscripted, aligned, or unified with a familiar, a spirit, a helper to engage them. And so I love the correlation as I look at the story you're telling, this experience you're having. So tell me a bit, if you don't mind me asking, about where and how this relationship started to develop. From 16 to now, there's a bit of time that's passed from there. It's lots of time to build that budding relationship.
It was interesting because I've always had this, like I said, I just classify it as the theater kid, this overexpressive, theatrical side of myself, be it either in daily life or whatever. And to be completely honest, now that I've had a child, my daughter, who is diagnosed with autism, I'm watching her and thinking back to some of the things I did when I was younger. And I think that a lot of what I consider theatrics and this extrasensory things that I used to do was because I'm undiagnosed, and I had it too. And I think that's where the idea of Azrael and this second personality, not in the way of multiple personalities, not that. I'm definitely not saying that. But this second being within me came from is I did not know, or at least back when I was that young, I did not understand what autism was. It really wasn't even a medical diagnosis when we were younger. So it was just kind of one of those things where like I would project through that personality certain thoughts and ideas, and then Andrew would be something different.
I mean, spooking me the fuck out. I know exactly what you mean. That's the same shit that I did throughout all of middle school and into high school as I developed into an adult. The relationship with the voice, the identity, understanding what it was and how it played into that adolescent vulnerable time. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, it's like you told. It's like okay, we're not alone, everyone.
No, we're not. No, we are not. There's plenty of other people out there that probably do the same thing, and I'm there for them. I'm there to help them. You know, that's the other beautiful thing about not just Freemasonry, but being part of this group is you can express these things, and like hearkening back to the year's Worshipful Master. One of the things I come from a military household. I myself was not able to join. I was medically disqualified. But my father spent 25 years in the Army. Uncle's grandfather, you know, family everywhere in military. So I'm a brat. So there, and I did 4 years ROTC in high school, in Army ROTC. So the drill and ceremony aspect of Freemasonry made a huge impact psychologically on me. Like, I want to make this perfect.
Yeah.
So ritual in lodge when I was master, I think I was a little bit of a dick sometimes.
A touch militant, a little bit in force.
Yeah, as they say, the benevolent dictator. I'm not sure about the ritual in your state, but during the Master Mason degree, there is a part where the master yells at a certain group of individuals. I made sure they heard it.
Damn straight. So, okay, I love that. And I mean, to a certain degree, I think there's two sides to kind of like the return opinion on that, because I think it's important to be militant. I think it's important to be, I mean, the basis of building and the perfect angle can be embodied in every step that we take. So I think it's incredibly important that like when you get into lodge, that's the focus. In many spaces, it is striving for that. I know a lot of places fuck up because they get too strict and it gets daunting. It's scary. It's like, shit. Like, I'm
don't advertise as that.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Like, there are a couple lodges here in New Jersey where right up front, they say to you, we're a ritual lodge. This is what we do. So if you're not that kind of person, you're still a brother, but this is what we do.
Do you think the impact of being more ritualistic as a Freemason? So you've got, you know, the esoteric or the ritualist, depending on how you may classify that. Do you think that having that attention to perfection within the ritual changed your experience through the craft?
I think it was always there. Like I said, military family background, ROTC and everything. So the idea of perfecting the act and the play that we put on every meeting was always there. However, learning the words and learning what certain things are in lodge, why do you walk that way? Why do you use that? What do you mean he's got that symbol? That was the stuff that really got me looking deeper into the more esoteric side. And I think through ritual, one becomes more esoteric, at least in my experience.
I like that. I like that a lot, especially because when you even take the proverbial role of the EA, it is something that in the beginning feels very like business at times. It can feel very mundane, but then the longer you do it and the more you're there, like, I'll be honest, I crave stated communication. It is my church. On a pagan level, when I look at it to the sense of like once a month, I'm doing something to meet.
It's a sacred space.
It's a sacred space.
It literally, we are creating, just like the Roman Catholics do it whenever, because I grew up Roman Catholic also. So like I see a lot of similarities just between those two things, between Freemasonry and the ritual that is Roman Catholic Church. So, the priest goes up and he has his blessing and he's blessing the Eucharist and all this other stuff. You're creating a sacred space. Confirmation, because I'm a confirmed Catholic also, you're finding a spirit. Yeah, depending on how strict your Catholic Church is, you're literally supposed to go into a room and a spirit is supposed to come to you.
Yeah.
You're communicating with the dead. So these ideas and these secrets and everything are not limited to this little world that they like to call the church. It's universal. So the sacred space that is the lodge. I mean, hell, the closing charge is, brethren, we are about to quit this sacred retreat. That was my favorite part of lodge. I perfected that speech and I made sure everyone heard me say it. Because in that charge, you are told, we're leaving here, but keep this in your mind and keep acting upon the square. Like, I'm telling you to do this.
It's a command. It is an order from the east.
Yeah.
It's not a message. It's not a chat. This is an order, motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. Absolute. I love the closing charge. I mean, it may differ between states, but for the most part, I guarantee this is what you're supposed to do.
The energy is
this is who we're supposed to project.
I think, and especially as we've looked at it today, right? So social media is it's a two-sided thing, especially being again glutton for punishment. Brother Vitello here is one of our founding production members of the Masonic movie. He is deeply committed into the lashings of social confrontation. And as we get in and we've done that, right? You see a lot of times that not all brothers use social media the same, nor do they feel inclined to be fraternal, so to speak, across those platforms, across those spaces. I think some of the first experiences I had with Freemasons on an international level was just on some varying Facebook groups, just kind of watching.
I heard your talk with last week with Buckeye, Nerdy Buckeye. I'm part of that group too.
Oh, no shit, really?
Yeah, I'm in there too. Yep, because I'm a console guy. So
see, fucking A. It's the best shit. I love it. Okay, now that's in my opinion.
So is Brother Bilbo, my co-host on the Extended Branch.
It's like it was destiny. Or Destiny 2 if you played that. But I know. See, okay, so this is the cool shit. So for everybody who's watching, irrespective of views on religion, definitions of God, the fraternity creates so many different winding vines of opportunity, of avenues for people to meet, good people, good brethren, to be able to be tested and find each other. And I'll admit this shit's crazy, because before I had any TikTok followers, before we were engaged in any kind of like really fraternal social level, I was a part of that group and part of these various groups, which I presume means you were there. So it's like digitally and visibly, we were right there.
You winding stairs?
Yeah.
I'm in there. I've been in there for, I don't know how long now. I think ever since I became a Master Mason, I joined that group. And I've met Brother Juan.
Really?
I've met all the guys from the Masonic Roundtable. Yep. That was a great memory. Do you mind if I tell it?
No, rip it, motherfucker. Let's go. I want to hear.
So shout out to all the guys on the Masonic Roundtable if you hear this. So the 300th anniversary of Freemasonry, 2017, the Masonic Roundtable held an event down at the George Washington Masonic Memorial in Alexandria, Virginia. And you paid your cost and you went there. You stayed for a weekend. A bunch of speakers were there. Besides the 5 hosts, you had other speakers talking about Enoch and talking about the one show with the island where they're trying to find the buried treasure.
It's Oak Island something.
Yeah,
Curse of Oak
Secret,
Island.
Mysteries of Oak Island or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That one, because they were talking about Enoch on that show, so they had a specialist on Enoch talking about like the ineffable word and all these other things, and never mind meeting brothers from across the country, possibly across the seas. I got a tattoo there. There we go. There we go. A brother gave me that tattoo.
No shit. That's dope.
Yggdrasil.
I'm fangirling the fuck out. That's
and then obviously meeting all of the hosts of the Masonic Roundtable, who, if you are a young Mason, these guys are superstars to you.
They are fucking superstars. I mean, like this. There's the Masonic Roundtable and the Freemasons podcast.
Yep.
These were my two like.
Yeah, they're like the go for learning experience within the fraternity. They're the go-to. Those are the one besides Freemasonry for Dummies. This is what I recommend.
Oh God, I love that book, Chris Hodap. I would kiss him. You know, he inspired. I mean, I remember driving from Texas, doing the whole like midnight run across state lines with the whole family packed and sleeping in the back, listening to the Freemasonry for Dummies audio, and just being so enamored. I didn't even know what the fuck it was. I had never hadn't petitioned. I hadn't even. But just there was something that was it really set that whole like, no, I'm gonna become a Freemason. I don't know if it's devil worshippers yet, but I've done that. So hey, get
the idiots book. Get there's an idiots book too.
Really?
Idiots got and that one's just as good. But so I met all the hosts of the Masonic Roundtable, and nothing against the other guys, but Brother Juan Sepulveda, I want him here now. He is an amazing brother, and he just has a way with words. And fast forward a little bit later. Let me finish this story first. So at the end of the weekend on the Sunday night, we all finish our thing. We all say congratulations to each other. And then all of us, at least 250, possibly 300 individuals, descend upon this bar in DC.
Yes, that's what
we are. All of us are suited up. All of us had our name tags on, like it was a lodge meeting. Like all of us, except for the aprons, all of us look like Masons. And we just descended, and these bartenders were not ready for us.
Dude, that is a biblical level gathering. When you talk about
it was amazing.
Like
it was absolutely amazing. I met Brother Edgar from the Masonic Revival, the clothing line.
Yeah.
I met him. I got to talk to him about like his designs and how he goes through his process for like his ties and whatnot. He actually makes New Jersey's aprons now. He is our guy.
Really? Oh, what a fucking honor.
No part of me. I had nothing to do with that, but still talking to him. Like I said, I got the tattoo from another brother who owns a tattoo shop in Virginia. And then going through the Masonic Memorial, like if you've never been to that place, you as a Mason will look at things and go, holy shit.
It's a mecca. I feel like when it comes to, like with the United States here in colonial Freemasonry, I definitely like it. I mean, let's just be real. We ain't UGLE over here. It's a little different.
No. We've got, a
little different. But I feel like that's one of the things, the historical part of a lot of Masons, especially young boys, they get so involved in the esoterics of it before having passed what I my opinion alone, is the requirement of understanding the historical presence and you have to get how we got here to understand why we are still here.
Right.
And if you
there should be a basis.
That's right. You need that before you can jump into the esoteric, because the thing is, the esoteric has been protected. It's been guarded. It's been, in certain cases, lost.
And this is my unpopular Masonic opinion.
I love these.
Okay, and I thank Brother Pat, Brother Viking Mason, for this topic. It's completely his idea. But so you talk about how the esoteric is protected, and I think the reason for that is because there's a lot of gibberish out there. And not an insult, but Manly P. Hall is Masonic fan fiction.
Fact.
He wrote all of that before becoming a Mason.
Yeah.
And there's people that swear by his books. And we, as Masons, turn around and go, yeah, he's got some cool stories in there, but
They're stories.
they're stories. Like, Born in Blood and all those books, like, those writers weren't even Masons completely yet. And they were writing about us from an outsider's perspective.
So it's really interesting you say that. So let's talk about some of our young bloods, right? We've got a lot of curious parties, a lot of interested and exciting, especially uniquely spiritually positioned parties, who because of what I would call as the social media revival of Freemasonry, they start in with some crazy shit right off the bat without necessarily passing all the guards to get there, right? And it's interesting. There's which is why I think the craft, you've got a lot of older brothers who are like, we're dying. It's not going to be like it was. And I'm like, I don't think you are on the hill. I don't think you can see
the horizon.
It really is, because I'm talking, there's a craving, a desire building in these generations of men who have either come from suppressed paternal situations or negative masculinity, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I know unified, I find that brethren across the board oftentimes have daddy issues. And it's not I'm not saying everybody, I'm saying for a lot of us younger ones, when we come into this situation, there's a clear desire to get back or to pull for a fraternal draw that we did not have in our youth. That we didn't get.
I'll give you an example. Like I said, my father was in the military. He wasn't home all the time. He was on base. So, I mean, my dad's my dad. I love my dad. He never did anything wrong to me, but he physically may not have been there because he was on base all the time. Right. So when I got to Lodge and I met another worship brother, Ken, I got to experience things that I didn't get to experience with him, with my actual father. Like, I built things with this brother, and I'm like, I could have been doing this when I was 16, but now I'm doing it at 38.
It's okay, and it's an unconscious thing, right? So yeah. I like, and have you? I presume you've seen 33 Degrees and Beyond.
I have not. I have not.
Okay.
I saw the interview with the Freemason from the UGLE on Netflix, but I have not seen 33 and Beyond.
Okay, I highly recommend it. If anything else, because I think Johnny Royal is he's a very good director with how he chose to break out the York Rite, the Scottish Rite, and tell that there's that picture of the stair steps that come up together. And
I talked about that.
Yeah, he basically goes through that as his whole is just the whole frame of the movie. But I highly recommend it. I will have you let me know. I can send you the deets to an account that I have bought it on, because I will happily just make it available. Or better yet, we may do that as a watch party. We could do that as an event. We could we just open it up and use that as show. Get down shit on the shelf. I'm gonna talk about that later. Don't mind me. Back to you, Gorgeous. So looking as you have evolved through the craft in your unique sense of spirituality, as you've come to see it both on both sides of this. So tell me about where you sit with it right now.
Spirituality?
No, where you sit with the craft, right? Because your perspective, you've flown from the east to the west. Within that space, you've experienced a lot. You've experienced a lot of realities that we as brethren, but within the craft, we need to be ready for. These are things that we're going to have to tackle. For us young bloods out there, what advice would you give? What to like the brother who transformed the lodge from where you found it to how you had it.
So no matter whether you decide to get into an officer's chair or if you just decide to sit on the sidelines and observe, realize that you're going to be dealing with humans and you're going to be dealing with human ego. And that whole line of, I am my brother's keeper, remind an erring brother of his failings, suggests on his behalf, keep those words close to heart. Do not act in anger, but suggest to the brother, hey, maybe we could do it this way because of blank. whatever the situation may be. If you are going to become an officer, take those words even more seriously, because if you're going to be traveling through the chairs, that is going to be your duty. Not only are you going to be serving the craft, but you're going to be in charge at one point. Even as junior or senior warden, hell, even as junior and senior deacon, you are somewhat an authority figure in the lodge. So not only are you may have your older brethren that have been there and are wise and experienced, but you still have to let them know, no, the worshipful master wishes to do it this way this time. But you also have the younger ones coming in, the petitioners, the EAs, the fellow crafts, who don't know enough yet, who may not be savvy to why we do certain things, or why just your lodge does it a certain way. It may not be the fraternity as a whole. It may just be the mentality of your lodge. And I say that because, as I described before, some lodges are the ritual lodge. My lodge is a very fraternal and brotherhood-oriented, fellowship-based lodge. We like to have fun, but we have to do business too. There's a lot of growing up that you're going to have to do. And we use that term a lot to describe, maturity, but I don't think it gets in your head. I don't think you understand it until you're put in a managerial position. And now you have all these people around you that you have to go, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Could you do this for me, please? It's learning to become a leader. It's learning how to speak publicly. God, I hated that. I hated the first time I had to give a presentation. I couldn't find the information. I couldn't talk. And these are my brothers. I was a master mason with all of them. They went through the same things I did. Get over your ego. It's a rough and rugged road, but there's always a friend to guide you and a brother to pray for you.
Ooh, I like that. That was sexy. I'm a big fan. So brethren, curious parties, as we come to what will be the end of many, many conversations to have. What I want to talk about is Brother Rizzatello's own podcast, his own thing, which he may not realize it's not, but we're going to hijack. We are going to show up unannounced to some degree. I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. The extended branch. Tell us about what you got going on, Boo Berry.
So the extended branch is the brainchild of Brother Kevin Cotter and Brother Billy Bilbo, not my anymore, but the senior deacon of Olive Branch Lodge and the organist emeritus of Olive Branch Lodge. They came to me and asked if I knew anything about podcasting, and little did they know that I've been podcasting for 11 years now. So I have a little bit of an experience. You can find us on YouTube. We have a season up already. We're going to be partitioning each grouping into seasons, where we interview various people on different subjects, such as esoteric, or whether or not you're doing it right.
Ooh.
Take that with a grain.
Grain of salt and shot of tequila preference, please.
No whiskey. We don't like that. We're whiskey guys.
There was a giant ass bottle. I saw something somewhere. It looked like it was. I was like,
oh, sir, we can talk about that after the show's over.
Yeah, that fair enough. Go on all night.
But yes, so the extended branch, you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Facebook. We update as much as we can. Mainly it's me because I'm the social media guy. And yeah, take a look, have a listen.
Oh, there were going to be links down below. You're going to find all of the sexy things there for you to watch, to get your giggles on. I'll be honest, I love being able to watch any content created by a brother, irrespective of it's Masonic alone. Like there's just this space. I'm like, oh shit. I start things with like a filter for fraternity. And so I fucking love your podcast because you guys are hilarious going back and forth. Like the banter is fraternal. And then likewise, the setting is stunning. Well, it may not be the current setting. It is stunning. It's very enamoring. So thank you for hosting that and keeping that.
There's two settings. There's one that you see currently, and the previous setting with our green screen background was done at a studio, a podcast studio here in New Jersey. If you are familiar with the AMC show Comic Book Men, Kevin Smith, That's Ming Chen's studio. From comic, Ming Chen and Mike Zapsik. That is their studio. And we happily
Who'd you
pay
bribe?
them.
How did you, what?
That came from the other podcast I do, the non-Masonic one. And I have to give full credit to the Chris Abalo podcast Experiment.
Okay. All right.
That's completely non-Masonic, horrible. We joke about everything, talk about music and movies and all that other stuff. Don't go there expecting any kind of light. Go there with no drinks because you're going to be spitting them out of your mouth.
Oh God. Okay, so we're headed. We're excited. You're gonna send me links for pure
absolutely, I
research
will.
purposes.
Yes, purely academic.
Purely academics. Like that sounds horrible. Where?
So yeah,
This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing a bit of your story, allowing us to capture it and keep it here at Hippie Queen Productions. Future brethren, thank you. But I look forward to what can only be one of many conversations to come.
I'm here anytime you need me. You got me.
These are dangerous words. Dangerous words. Be well, my beautifully bearded metal Drew. I love it. Let's go. Take care, man.